let's get to our guest who has been waiting patiently on the line, Master Chrism, and he is based out of California. And I don't know. What would you? Okay, I'm just going to bring you on. What would you describe yourself as a teacher, a healer? How would you put yourself in your own words?
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Duncan, and I'd like to thank everyone at the Healing Loft and Eileen for arranging this interview. Regarding your question, I teach the Kunalini. The Kunalini teaches, through an individual that has it, and I have the awakened Kunalini, and for any and all individuals, the Kunalini is a manifestation of a higher spiritual and energetic quality that we all carry with us. And so I would describe myself as a human being that has activated the internal aspect of the divine within themselves and is allowing that divine and surrendering to the information that the divine brings through him. Kind of wordy, but that's okay. And a lot of our Master Chrism and I were talking a little bit off air before on the show. There are people that we have different types of listeners. Some are very familiar with Kundalini energy, and some may not be familiar at all. If you were just going to walk down, just someone on the street, how would you describe what Kundalini energy is? I would let them know that there's an energetic quality that resides within the last three vertebrae of the tailbone that extends to the perineum and down both legs to the bottoms of the feet, and that this is an energetic potential that really guides the evolutionary quality of a person's life. How you evolve in your lifetime will be guided by this energetic force, this spiritual force. I would let the person know that this is a consciousness within a consciousness. This is the divine consciousness within the five-body aspected consciousness that you have. Five-body aspected relates to the spirit body, the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, and the psychological body. Those five senses that we use to navigate our way through physical world are represented as bodies.
Different bodies.
I would let them know that. Okay.
No, you go.
Sorry,
no, I was just going to say, okay, so we have five different bodies, and this energy resonates through all of them in a different way. Is that? Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, it resonates through all of them, but the qualities of the five bodies is what differentiates it. So, for instance, the physical body won't have the same resonance with Kundalini as the emotional body will. The emotional body will typically come out through a series of emotional responses, whereas the physical body will respond within a series of physical manifestations, such as automatic movements that the Sanskriti people called kriyas. Things of that nature.
And that's an interesting. I've heard the term kriyas. What exactly are kriyas?
Kriya is an automatic movement of the physical body, but it also you can also have emotional kriyas, mental kriyas, things of that nature, but we'll just stick with the physical for the moment.
Sure, yeah.
As the Kundalini infuses the physical system will be torqued or twisted or moved in gentle and sometimes abrupt ways automatically. So, for instance, if you have a Kundalini activation, you may wake up in the middle of the night finding yourself in a yoga position that you're not familiar with, and you've never taken a yoga class.
Interesting. You
don't know anything about yoga, and here you are in this yoga position, with your spouse sleeping next to you, looking at you like, what's going on, hon? So the Kundalini, that would be a Kriya. That would be what a Kriya is. And
okay. Okay,
These kriyas come in many different ways. They can be a shake that would resemble a palsy. It can be a yoga position. It can be something that doesn't even come close to a yoga position. It can be something of a supplication, as if a person were supplicating themselves to whatever. And these are all natural movements that the body will go through at the instigation of the Kundalini.
And the way I described, I kind of did a little bit when I was promoting the show, and hopefully I was accurate. I said that so people understand, Kunalini is an energy that lays latent in most people until it's activated, and it's a divine energy that gets activated, and we keep bringing up, we're going back to activation, and that's definitely what this is about. You know, what you're activating the Kundalini. But would that be an accurate statement? That
well, it's a latent energy in all people, not just some.
All people. Yes. No,
and everybody that has a spine. If you have a spine and you're a human being, then you have latent Kunalini in the last three vertebrae of the tailbone.
Yeah. No, what I was saying was that for most people, it's latent. They may not be aware of like how to activate it, or even not even knowing how, or having an experience that would, and we'll talk a little bit about the natural, where people activate it, not knowing that they're activating it, and then they wonder what's happening to them.
Right. Well, not all people call it Kundalini either. You know, every culture on this world has its name for the energy that we are at this time referring to as Kundalini. The greater Kunalini for the ancient Chinese, the Shekinah of the Judaic people, the red serpent energy of the shamans in the Amazon basin. The Tibetans have their name for it, aspect of it called Tumo. The names just go on and on and on, and they resonate from the bush people of Africa to the Native Americans of the United States and other areas. The Siberian, peoples also have their name for it. So everybody has knowledge of this quality of the divine that we have within ourselves, but they call it, a different name. Here we're calling it Kundalini simply because the Sanskriti people of ancient India kept such a precise and detailed flow of knowledge about it, even up to the present day. And the word Kriya comes from the Sanskrit language, as well as does the word Kundalini. It also comes from the Sanskrit language. We don't, in the West, have much of a name that has been made public.
Right.
The Western alchemical masters, they knew about it, and the Masons, have their 33 degrees, which basically resonates with the 33 vertebrae in the human spine. But when you go beyond that, well, boom, there you have the Kundalini, but which is the all-seeing eye over the pyramid on the $1 bill. But that is the eye, also known as the Eye of Ra, which also would be considered the marriage of the Kundalini at the top of the head. And so we do have it represented here in the West. It's just kept secret from us here.
Okay, I'm glad you kind of drew the analogy with the that's interesting with the 33 vertebrae and the 33rd degree of the Masons. So this is no secret among them about activating Kundalini energy.
Well, it's secret to the Masons that haven't reached the 33rd degree.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, you know what I meant. Like the people that have reached, and beyond. Gotcha. Okay. Now activating the Kundalini, and here's some of the things. Now, when you're working with people and getting, one of the words that I kept hearing was you encourage the use of safeties. What's that all about?
Safety protocols. When a person has the Kundalini come to them and it doesn't fit into their reality or to the world that they're living in, it can be a very destructive force. If you done any research into the Kundalini, you'll have heard of a term called Kundalini syndrome. And basically what that refers to is a person's response to the Kundalini amplification from a fear-based behavior. Kundalini, when it comes to a person, is extremely amplifying of all 5 bodies of expression. Remember the 5 bodies that we discussed earlier.
Exactly.
Every aspect of those 5 bodies will be expressed in a very amplified fashion simultaneously. This can be a very big deal. This is a reality breaker. Your reality begins to fragment in many different ways as the eyelids are removed from your inner eye, as the ancients referred to it. And so the first response is typically going to be that of fear. It's going to scare the person to pieces. And the first place they're going to go when their body starts assuming odd positions or their heart rate increases, exponentially, or decreases exponentially, they'll go to the ER. And the MDs at the ER will go, "Oh my God, we got to put you through some tests here," and they'll put you through all these tests, and they'll come out and they'll say, "Well, Mr. Chrism, everything is normal. Maybe you're just having an anxiety attack. Here, take these."
Right. Yeah.
Or you'll self-admit to a psych ward where they'll do an intake on you, and you'll say, "Oh, geez, I'm hearing angelic music, and I'm smelling incense, and there's no incense around me, and I feel such love for everyone." They'll go, "Oh boy, yeah, we better get you on some high psychotropic meds here." So those are 2 different modern-day medical responses to a Kundalini awakening that has not been planned on, that a person hasn't, tried to do, or at least if they have tried to do it, they didn't know the ramification of what would occur if they tried to do it. This is called Kundalini syndrome, and basically the DX for Kundalini syndrome is bipolarism with a positive for schizophrenia, or vice versa, schizophrenia with a positive for bipolarism. And they typically give a chemical treatment for that type of a scenario. Why I introduce safeties? I introduce safeties because, first of all, I want people to know what it is that's happening to them. And I incorporate a lot of the ancient techniques, such as bandha locks. You can look that up. I believe it's spelled Bandhas. That refers to a lock in the Sanskriti language. One of those locks is the Gyan Mudra, Gyan, Gyan, that involves the forefinger tip and the thumb tip to come together on both hands with the remaining fingers spread apart. That will help channel the energy in an effective way within the body. The tongue tip to the upper front teeth, actually right behind the upper front teeth, you have a fleshy mound there, and the tongue tip goes there. Sometimes it'll just go there automatically. And that can really help a person. And so what the safeties are about are ways of the person surrendering to the infusion of the Kundalini in a harmonious fashion, not in any way that is blocking it or trying to control it with the ego, but in a way that the Kundalini will naturally suggest to the person through its own movements. Just like I described the Kriya. The Kriya is a natural suggestion that the Kundalini is giving to the person's physical body to come in harmony with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're asleep, it's typically our ego that is asleep. And so the Kundalini will come during the dream state and the sleep time because it knows that our ego is kind of off doing something else, and it can go ahead and do the work that it's there to do. Kundalini syndrome is extremely dangerous for people to have. It can ruin it. It can ruin your life. It can absolutely ruin your life.
Well, of course. Well, especially if you're not used to there are sometimes natural trigger points where people don't even know how they got themselves in that position where they've activated it. And then I'd imagine, and some of the things that you were just describing earlier, it would be really scary.
When it fragments the reality almost completely. And it must do that in order to rebuild the person's ideology and informational structure from a much broader frequency of understanding. Say before they were basically operating from the five senses and doing okay with that. Well, now you have, say, 1,005 senses, and you kind of have to expand the five-body reality that far in order to understand how the Kundalini is communicating to you. Yeah, to put it in a more familiar framework, are you familiar with the Arthurian legends of the Holy Grail?
Oh yeah, yep. I've a little bit,
Kunalini turns a person into a walking, talking Holy Grail. As a matter of fact, the Holy Grail is referring to Kunalini. You are the divine cup, and Kunalini is the divine wine being poured into that cup. But if you don't know that, you're going to respond in very, many different ways that could be very destructive for you. And so I initiated these safeties to begin a process of a person harmonizing themselves with the agenda of transformation that the Kunalini will bring.
Well, and I had a good question that was brought to my attention, and then you might have even kind of answered it. Does one need a teacher to progress with Kundalini and activate this?
It's helpful. They're just hard to find. An authentic person with Kundalini is not the most common teacher that you'll find out there these days. But it is helpful. I would have loved to have had one. You go through a series of trainings and a series of testing that you don't even know you're being trained or tested for. And if you have a teacher there that says, hey, relax now. This is a test. This is what you're studying. This is how it's going. These are the parameters. Keep your tongue up. Keep your eyes up. Keep your fingers locked. Drink plenty of water and go to it. Let me know how it goes. That alone, that kind of reassurance alone can save a life.
Absolutely.
Of a Kundalini activation gone wrong.
Be assured
so
that you're not having...
One.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, literally, you're helping people, you're not having a seizure, you're not going crazy, you're having a profound spiritual experience.
That's what the AMA now refers to Kundalini awakenings typically as a spiritual emergency, which it is, and I agree with that definition. But it's far more than spiritual.
Oh yeah, no, it's hitting. Well, everything, one of my beliefs and many people's beliefs is that everything's connected. Your emotional, your physical, your spiritual. They're all tied together. They aren't independent from each other. So it's going to rock your world. And yeah, as you were saying earlier, like the five bodies, when you're activating something, deep inside you. And one of the curious things is what is life like after you've had this activation experience, after this spiritual emergency?
Well, okay, so the typical scenario is when the energy comes up, and it will basically, in a spinal sweep scenario, the energy sweeps up from the tailbone and activates every chakra all the way up to the top to the crown chakra. It protrudes itself through the brow of points, also referred to as the third eye, almost as a serpent comes up. And this is what you'll see in the Egyptian pharaohs with the snake coming out of the third eye region. That is the Uraeus, U-R-E-A-S, I believe. I believe. Play around with the spelling on it, but it's there. And that is what the Kundalini does. It'll extend itself through the third eye after it has activated the crown. And as that is occurring, you'll feel, or a person will often feel like a freight train is moving up their spine. Seriously, literally. I thought it was an earthquake. Being out here in California, I was going, oh, geez, that's a big one. Yeah, my body was thrashing all over the place. And I literally thought it was an earthquake until the thrashing subsided, and I looked for the lamps to be swinging, and nothing was swinging. Uh-oh. And then, you have this golden glow behind your eyes. You can, even when you close your eyes in a dark room, there's this golden glow that is, you're just lit up from the inside out. And that is what is referred to as enlightenment. When the pineal gland is lit up by the Kundalini from the inside out, those are the beginning stages of enlightenment on a human being. And if you're in a softly lit room and you're looking at a person that has Kundalini, you'll see a film of light coming through their eyes, just a very, very light film of light. And after that spinal sweep occurs for the individual, for the person who's just become an initiate of Kundalini awakening, not activation, but awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Everything before the spinal sweep was part of an activation sequence. Everything after the spinal sweep is part of an awakening sequence. After the spinal sweep, typically the Kundalini will not go away. I won't make any kind of absolutist statements, because the divine has a way of working its will on the human being regardless of the parameters that the humans will set up for themselves. So I won't say absolutely not, but typically the Kundalini does not have an off switch after that point.
So
it just continues for the rest of the life of the person.
And so when someone is considering activating their Kundalini, they have to understand that it's just not going to be the same. You can't go back to the old. It's just, you have to embrace it.
You can't put the genie back into the bottle.
Right. And I think that's important for folks to know. But the reason you
don't want to.
Activate,
you don't want to.
Well, and we were talking a little, again, one of the things that we promote on this show is holistic, well-being. The whole, and holistic means the whole picture, physical and the emotional, spiritual.
Why don't we go into that? Because I know that is more the focus of the healing loft.
Yeah.
And let's go in. Let's go in directly to the healing aspects of the Kundalini.
Absolutely.
Which are it's merely one hair on a full head of hair of a human. The healing aspect is just that much. The rest of it has to deal with other aspects, such as enlightenment and ascension and things of that nature. But the healing aspect is in this way, I do have to speak with an absolute clarity.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that the human condition can bring upon itself with regard to disease or damage that the Kundalini cannot cure. And I mean cure in the medical sense. I mean cure in the way that when you leave a hospital and, they've given you a few sutures and you have to sign a form that says, healed and released.
Yeah.
Whether it be true or not, the Kundalini is cured. I mean, you are cured of the scenario.
Really?
If that potential and if that is part of your karmic well-being, and I know everybody's going to say, oh, God, he said the word karma. Well, karma plays a huge role into this. Whether you even have a Kundalini expression in this lifetime is going to be determined by your karma. But with regard to the eradication, or actually I shouldn't use that term, to the balancing of dis-ease within a human system, there are no parameters for Kundalini. It'll go straight to it. And it won't kill a disease. Let's say you have something like AIDS. Let's use AIDS, for example.
Okay.
The Kundalini won't kill the AIDS virus. Absolutely not. One of the foundations of Kundalini is the Sanskrit term of ahimsa. Okay, AHIMSA, and you can Google that.
Yeah.
Do no harm to anything. Do no harm to others. Okay.
Right.
So the Kundalini won't kill AIDS. It won't eradicate AIDS. It'll simply change it into something that's not harmful to you. It's all about transformation. It's all about change. Okay, so that virus doesn't do what it's doing to you anymore. It does something else. Maybe something beneficial.
Right. Well, we hate AIDS only because of the case of what it does to people and the devastation.
We don't understand the community of illness that AIDS is a part of. Just like we don't understand the myco communities of the fungus and fungi around us, or the bacteriological communities of consciousness around us. I mean, we're very, very, we wear very large blinders when it comes to other intelligence around us and the macrocosm of intelligence and community around us. The shamans walk further in that world than the Western people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and what you're saying makes sense. And that's a big incentive for people that want to learn more about Kunalini and Kunalini activation.
Well, here's the thing, though. Before a person should even consider it, they need to understand how broad-based the transformation is.
Yeah.
It can change your eye color. Okay. For many, for many people, that they have any kind of a disease, say myasthenia gravis or a cancer, or they've been broadsided by a Mack truck in their Toyota Tercel. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking of real people here when I use these examples.
Right.
The Kundalini can basically put the person back together without surgical remediation. Okay?
That's
the Kunalini can move the cranial plates on top of your head. I call it cranial plate migration, in a way that allows the energy to be modulated better through the human system. It can do anything it wants with the human being. It is of a divine nature. Divinity does not have human-based, scientific and physics-based parameters of interaction. It can do what it wants, and it does. It does. It will work its will upon you. And it's a will that is based in grace, based in love, based in joy, based in bliss, based in self-validation and validation of other people, validation of other life on the planet, validation of a consciousness that wraps around everything and everyone. And you get this. When you have that spinal sweep happen and it hits the top of your head, you become at one with everything, everyone. You are at one with every leaf on a tree and all trees, every grass blade, all grass blades, every dust particle. You're at one with all creation. And that stays with you. That changes you.
Well, and that's what many of us are looking for, for that uniting, feeling. Well, it sounds like it's like a profound connection with your higher self, your soul. You really, literally connect and can get past some of the barriers we put in as human beings. Is that kind of a good description?
Once again, we have to bring the karma word back into this mix. If a person can hear the word Kundalini, that says a lot right there. For people who are even listening to this broadcast, if they even just kind of had a curiosity about this Kundalini word, that says a lot. Kundalini shouldn't come to all people. There's a level of refinement, of karmic balancing that has to occur before a person can even contemplate having Kundalini. I get a lot.
I would agree. Yeah. Well, that's why I said
you don't want a serial killer to have Kundalini.
No, and that's why I said the key word. Some of us, I would say obviously people that are listening to this program.
I did notice that. I noticed that.
I said I should have been a lawyer. I should be a lawyer. I always carefully choose my words.
That was well stated. Not everyone should have this because they haven't reached that level of refinement. And
a lot of people wouldn't even want that.
Yeah, they really comes to a crux when you have a spouse and one activates and the other one does not. Okay, that can really cause a rift in a marriage. And what I'm going to suggest to those who are listening, or and especially if these shows are archived, for those of you who are listening in the future, to those of you listening in the future, welcome and hello, and I recognize your presence here. If you are a spouse that is having Kundalini and you're afraid to tell the other spouse that you're having this, just communicate that to your Kundalini, and the Kundalini itself will begin the refinement process necessary for that other spouse to come into harmony with it. Do not feel that it needs to reach any kind of a emotional crisis level. It doesn't. And that goes for anybody.
And I just want to put this out quickly. If people want to call in with their own questions, you are welcome. This is an open show. And the number I'm going to put that out is 347-838-8539. That's 347-838-8539. And Master Chrism will answer some of the questions you might be having. I had one question that just struck me. You know, you've been doing this work for some time. How did you come about? And you're doing this work and you're helping people with their activation. How did you end up having your activation? Did you have a teacher yourself, or did it happen naturally? I'm very curious about that.
A lot of people are very curious about that. No, I didn't have a teacher, and my activation. Well, it gets a little complex, but I guess we can visit it here.
Yeah, well, you high level.
Well, here's the thing: is the Kundalini follows you into death. You know, you hear people saying, old timers sitting outside the gas station say, "Oh, you can't take it with you." Well, Kundalini gets to go with you after you die. It comes with you, and it becomes a signature of spiritual evolution in the lifetimes that you have to live. Now, there's some myths about Kundalini, stating that, well, if you have Kundalini, then all your karma has been burned. Well, that's just not true. Okay, a significant portion of your karma has come into balance for this life, but you probably still have a lot more karma to pay for, from the other existences that you've had. And the Kundalini's fine with that. It'll help you to balance that in the next incarnation. However, when you come into that next incarnation as a child, you will have the gifts and the skills of the Kundalini awakened individual you were right before that incarnation. Do you understand? Are you following me?
I am following that, yes.
And
well,
so
it gets down to the soul level. I mean,
it changes that childhood experience. Child is levitating. Child is having OBEs. Child is encountering entities and talking with discarnates. Child can do things that the parents just kind of look at the kid doing them and they're just saying, "Don't tell anyone, honey."
I bet. Well, and when there's a lot of people that are, they walk into this world in their current lifetime, and they're very gifted from a very young age.
The thing is pretty much across the board, even the Kundalini awakened people that come into this world, they have to agree to step behind the veil of forgetfulness. And so that Kundalini child doesn't realize why it is able to do these things. Well, that's what happened to me. So all throughout my early childhood, I had very, very gifted psychic scenarios. All of the scenarios that I discussed just now, and more that I won't discuss, came to me, and it's just basically because I didn't know what was going on. It just scared me to death.
I bet.
Scared me to pieces. My poor parents, it's like, "Oh, honey, it was the heater." "No, Mom, it's not the heater. I know what the heater sounds like." All of that, night terrors and the entities coming, and oh my God, it was just a real travail. And
Well, I was going to lead in with, and then how did you? It's interesting. So you have that, and you think, as a child, you're going, "Oh my goodness, I'm kind of a different child."
I wouldn't tell anyone about it.
No. But I mean, this is you and your internal. You got your internal thought process. But how did you make the connection and discover why you were the way you were and get into the work of Kundalini? I'm interested in how that came about.
Well, the Kundalini went dormant when I turned 13, and it stayed dormant until, the age of about 24. But even so, I just thought it was my weird psychic skills coming back at the age of 24, and I wasn't quite sure I wanted to go there again because it was so scary. But after that, after they did come back, I decided to just embrace them. And the Kundalini skills themselves led me to the first Kundalini awakening of my current body. Okay, so no longer was I running on the Kundalini that I came in with. Now this corporeal form was activated and in an awakening process. Okay.
And how did you feel? How did you feel at the time?
Yeah. Well, I still didn't know. I still didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I mean that must have been startling.
It's what the Sanskriti people call that self-realization. Except I didn't feel I had a heck of a lot of choice in the matter, but it did happen, and it definitely felt like I had a writhing snake for a spine for quite some time. And, it's definitely a difficult experience, and I can understand from an authentic, perceptive point why people would go crazy or why people would self-admit. But you have to remember that I had medical experience by the time that I came into this first awakening, second awakening, but first for this body. I already knew what my intake would be. Okay, I already knew what a subjective, objective assessment prognosis pattern would be for any kind of an intake of a medical DX, and I certainly wasn't going to go there. Okay, so I knew.
Right.
I knew what not to do. And so I just struggled with it for a long, long, long time, for years, and I was homeless, I was on the street, not because I was addicted to drugs or had an alcohol problem or anything like that. I had Kundalini, and I was just trying to figure out how to make my way in a world with such expansion to it. And the spinal sweep and the oneness was wonderful, wonderful stuff, but I still didn't know what it was. I still didn't have any kind of a word for it. I just thought, wow, boy, I'm a pretty strange fellow. and so I lived very hermit-like within our society. And I would suggest that everybody who sees a homeless person, don't think for 1 second that they may not be that Kundalini awakened master just trying to come to grips with what's going on. Not everybody out there that's unshaven and unkempt is strung out on a drug or addiction of some sort. Some people are just trying to find their way.
Right. And understand.
So this happened. This occurred for about 12 years, and after that, I read a book by Gopi Krishna that was called Kunalini: The Evolutionary Energy in Man, and then I knew what I had. Then everything fell into place. Everything fell into place because what he had, he had a real hard time with it too. And he operated from a fear basis, which I did much of the time as well. And when you go into a fear, you go into resistance. And when you go into resistance with Kundalini, you always lose. You cannot resist a divine force.
No.
And so when I knew what had taken place, then I knew I just needed to surrender and embrace this with love and grace and allowing. And when that happened, everything changed. Everything changed immediately. Then everything was flowing, and I felt the energy, and I began to have the knowingness that comes through a Kundalini awakening. And this knowingness is having information that you have no right to have. You haven't studied it. Nobody's told you it. You know, you haven't read it in a book. You haven't looked online with it. You know, you know immediately. And this knowingness just kept coming into me and into me and into me and into me and into me. And I knew that I had to go through some more refining episodes. And so I went into them, and I went into them with a clear head. And I really was able to partake of a far grander reality and teaching from the Kundalini than I would have if I had been, you know, still enmeshed in the Kundalini syndrome aspects of it. Everything that I had to go through in order to become a teacher. I made almost every mistake a person can make when it comes to the Kundalini. Seriously. I tried to get rid of it. I tried to, you know, get myself exercised or have a shaman work. You know, nobody knew. Nobody could do it.
But that's, you know, well, sometimes it's the unpleasant experiences that are the best teacher, because you know now what, especially when you're working with people that are in your workshops, what you know what they're going through.
Well, the thing is I had to know from an authentic standpoint before I could teach from an authentic standpoint.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It wasn't taught to
and basically, Kundalini was just setting me up to do what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Kundalini University.
Yeah, well, I bet. And if you don't know what's going on, it's a scary place.
Now, so it never stops, Duncan. It keeps going. Don't believe anybody that says, "Oh yeah, I did Kundalini last summer. It was really cool."
It's all right.
I don't know what they did. I don't know what they did, but it wasn't Kundalini. Because the first thing of the deal is you don't do Kundalini. Kundalini does you.
Yeah.
It does you, and it does you with force. And it's not always unpleasant. It doesn't slam you into the walls. I mean, it does sometimes, but it doesn't, you know, it's more of a gentle, loving, nurturing, balancing, harmonizing force than something that is, you know, really difficult. I mean, if it's training you to be a teacher, then, yeah, you know, put your seatbelts on. But it has qualities that are absolutely fearsome. In the Kundalini terminologies, one of those qualities is called Kali, K-A-L-I. And it's a feminine goddess. And she's quite fearsome. And, you know, when you have Kundalini, you learn to discern. And you learn to make judgments that are not based on any kind of fear or anger. And so you never really have to unleash Kali on anybody. And if you do see that happening, then there's another reason behind any kind of a say an emotional vibe behind it. She also comes to people as a tiger. This is real. This is a real manifestation that isn't of a divine quality, and yet it is. The Kundalini will come to people in top of the food chain, shamanic animals. We're talking about wolves, tigers, lions, bears, spiders, eagles. You know, I mean, a phoenix, the phoenix bird comes. Are you there? Hello?
Right. Yep, I'm listening.
And as she comes to people within those formats, very specific teachings are being given. You are to pay attention to those teachings. For those of you who are listening now and in the future, you pay attention to what the animal is telling you or communicating to you. No longer are your dreams simply places to escape from the physical reality. With Kundalini, your dreams are another classroom, and you need to treat it that way. Okay. Every religion, every belief system, every shamanic practice, it all leads to the Kundalini. Kundalini is is one of the points on the compass that is where all the roads lead to Kundalini, so to speak. In some of the tribes of the Amazon basin, you can't even become a healer or a medicine person in those communities if you haven't gone to the Kunalini, which is, of course, why they like ayahuasca so much, because ayahuasca can introduce you to the Kundalini that way.
Right. And one thing I just want to just stop for a moment and just get some identification, because we have been, it looks like in the chat room we've been having people tuning in. Just let people know that you are listening to Live at the Healing Loft, and this comes live from the Healing Loft in Northeast Minneapolis. We are a holistic wellness center, and we serve the Twin Cities, we serve the upper Midwest, and we have a number of events here, and we have another practitioners that operate out of here, and we're all about wellness, and wellness at all levels. We're really talking about, we're talking about spiritual awakenings, but we're talking about the physical, we're talking about the emotional, and and our website is www.thehealingloftmpls.com, and you can also reach us at our office here at 612-208-1408. I'm going to give a different number for the radio show if people want to call in. We still have some time. It's 347-838-8539. And we also are on Facebook at The Healing Loft. And you're also on Facebook at Kundalini Seminars. And so I suggest if you are a Facebooker, like that page, because you're going to keep that updated with some of the things that you're doing. And for people that are listening in the Twin Cities area, we are going to be having a film that Master Chrism is actually in, that we're talking with him, and that's going to be Thursday night here at the Healing Loft at 7 o'clock. So one of the things I'm going to talk to you is about the film, and you are actually going to be here in person in September, the 17th and 18th, and you're going to be at the Springbrook Nature Center, and that's 185th Avenue Northwest in Fridley, Minnesota. And to find out information how to sign up for that, contact Eileen Laurel, and she's kind of your Twin Cities liaison, and she can be reached at eloro55@yahoo.com, or you can reach her at 239-246-5608. That's 239-246-5608. She can give you more information about this workshop coming up and how to sign up for that. I wanted to get a chance to talk about the film, because this will be, people are really fascinated and kind of gripping listening to you talking on the show here. You were actually in a film called Kunalini. Maybe talk about your participation in that. How did that project come all about?
I had an association with the director-producer of the film, and we were discussing different ways that the Kundalini wanted to express itself into the Western media format, and the idea of a film was born in that conversation. And but it needed to be a film that was for for people that just needed a very basic understanding of what it is and what it can do, and the different perspectives from different people that have and don't have. Some people in the film don't have the Kunalini. But they have their own ideas about it, and some people in the film do have it, and they have their ideas about it. I'm just one of among, I think, about 5 people. He filmed it. My participation occurred at a seminar that I was giving in Arizona, and I think it's very good for a broad-based spectrum of opinion about the Kundalini.
Okay, so you're getting different perspectives. But I think that's good. People can examine.
People need that. A lot of the people that the director interviews, they have PhDs, and so for the people who like the PhDs, then they get to have that PhD perspective, and then
Right.
people like myself and the lady, the woman who's in it, they have the actual energy themselves, and you can kind of get an idea of what it is to have it, and to hold it. Okay, and so you get both. You get both the scientific, and you get the people that have it, and you get to you get the whole pattern of information. I think that's available to us at this point. Within a parameter that the Western audiences, I think, can understand and appreciate.
Okay, well, and I think that's a good idea because you get to reach. I like that 360 approach. You get a little bit of everything, and you also you talk about resonating. With some people,
I have to tell you,
people are going to resonate with others.
The narrative, the voiceover woman that speaks, those are based on the writings that I have written. But I like people being given more than just one person giving their idea about the Kundalini. I think it's necessary for people to hear it from more than one source, so that it's one person isn't right about anything. Okay.
Well,
one person is one person's opinion.
And I do like the idea that you're bringing in people that give a scientific, because it lends validity to, I'm sure you struggle with that. I struggle with that when, working with people. I do chakra healing work, and it's like, everybody's looking for scientific proof. What are you doing with me? How does this work? And I love.
Let me back up a little bit. I mean,
sure.
Science is nowhere near coming into a recognition of Kundalini. Nowhere even close. Come on, the Masons won't even let it out in the in the Western societies. So, and the Masons and the Masonic, they have a very interesting relationship with science and what we are allowed to know and to understand. And so, science is not there yet. They don't recognize spirit. They don't recognize divine qualities. They don't recognize things.
I would say most, but there are a few. There are a few scientists that are out there. They're champions for it, and that's what I'm saying. If you get more and more people, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not going to make a blanket
prove it.
statement.
There's no instrumentation out there that is being let out into the public that can measure a Kundalini response in a human being. And so with that being given, when I say from a scientific basis, I have to give a little, I have to give that caveat.
Right.
That science, as of yet, cannot prove it, weigh it, understand it, replicate it at will. Therefore, since it doesn't measure up within those narrow parameters of expression, to a scientist, it does not exist.
Well,
which is where we have the problem with the NDs. The NDs, since it doesn't exist within science, then they can't really DX. Oh, you've got Kundalini syndrome, right?
Yeah. Well, we're not there yet, but I'm just saying that it's encouraging that people are getting on board, at least acknowledging it. Acknowledgement is huge. And then
it's huge. Absolutely.
So I'm saying there is a shift going on where there is, and when you mentioned that, I was like, well, that's heartening to hear. That there is some people that are at least lending some support to it.
Well, here's Duncan. I'd like to say something out of the blue here. I'm being given to say
absolutely.
this.
Go ahead. Jump in.
To your people. Do not initiate an activation through drugs. Recreational or otherwise. Do not run to South America and take as much ayahuasca as you can in order to have Kundalini. It's a big mistake. Kundalini is not something that you want to force upon yourself. It can really, really, really hurt. My experience, as hard as it was, it would be nothing compared to what a person can have when they try to storm the gates of heaven. You do not want to do that. if you do want to initiate Kundalini protocol into your life, do it very slowly. If you like, and don't feel like you can be lazy about it. Don't think you can take a shortcut. Go do the safeties. They're free. Okay, you don't have to pay a dime. Just go to the website Kunalini Awakening Systems, the1.com. Go to the safeties, and do that once a day, and that will go to great lengths of giving you a refinement protocol to awaken your Kundalini in a safe and sane way. Do not use the entheogens because they're fun and they give you a high. That's fine if you're just doing it for fun and you want to have a high.
Right.
But don't do it for Kundalini. And absolutely do not do mushrooms, psilocybin, and then ask for Kundalini, because that can be that's one of the worst experiences I've ever seen a person have.
Well,
they don't recover.
I would be frank with you. What you described, what happens during a Kundalini awakening, I can't. I mean, it's scary enough. Well, I don't advocate the use of drugs anyway, but doing both at the same time sounds absolutely terrifying.
It's horrible because you never come back from. What happens is the person shatters their own reality, but without the refinement strength. You see, every time you refine yourself in a certain way, you gain strength, you gain stability, you gain balance. But if you go straight from 0 to 1,000, in one night, you have no strengths, you have no refinement strengths with you, but you do have an extremely shattered reality where let's just say it's a very big aquarium, and you don't want to be the one you don't want to be the worm on the hook, so to speak.
Well, and speaking of, this is a good lead-in question. We had a question from the chat room from Camellia. She asks, could Master Chrism say a bit more about what the safeties are? We talked about it a little bit earlier, and I'm not sure when she jumped in.
Well, the safeties are a whole set of protocols. This is Camilla. Camilla, hello. Yeah, the safeties are a protocol, and what they do is here's what happened. I was giving a seminar in Santa Cruz, and I believe it was around 2006. And at the time, I didn't have safeties. I was just following my intuition and the Kunalini guidance on what I needed to do for specific individuals to activate the Kundalini with them in a way that they could have and hold it without damaging them. So, I gave the activation to one gentleman, and the next day he came back to the second day of the seminar, and he pulled his shirt up, and you could see red welts going up his spine over each of the chakras. And I thought, oh, no. I was horrified, but I didn't show it. I just said, oh, how do you feel? He says, oh, I feel great, and he says, they're fading. And I said, oh, good. And I went on with the seminar. I paid some special attention to him to make sure everything was okay psychologically and emotionally with him.
Right.
But that night I went into a meditation, and I basically put it out there. I didn't want to give another Shakti pot until I had safety protocols. And that's when they came. And if you look at the safety protocols, you will see that they come from almost every tradition that I mentioned. And this is the Kundalini writing this. The Kundalini will it's not like medium, mystic, or channeling so much, because it's an inner thing that's part of you already. It's part of you from birth. And so it just takes your hands and it starts typing on the keyboard. This is goes right through it. And all the mudras that came from the Sanskriti people and the different breathing technologies such as pranayama and the Tibetan rites from the Tibetan people, and all of these different scenarios that are within the safeties came from the Kundalini itself and have proven their worth over the years as hundreds and hundreds of people have been doing this. I don't say thousands and millions because it just hasn't been that, but hundreds of people have been doing this. And they're coming into it. It's especially helpful to people who have Kundalini and have been having a terrible time with it. And they come into the safeties, and all of a sudden they can find balance. They can find harmony. Okay, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Anyway, so I basically, without getting into each specific protocol, there's a whole list of protocols. Some of the ones that I would like to mention would be the actions of forgiveness. In all aspects of your life, you must be willing to forgive. If you are not willing to forgive, you're gonna have, and the Kundalini comes up, you're gonna feel like you're having a heart attack.
I gotcha.
Okay. And the Kundalini will smooth. Oh my gosh, it'll smooth out so beautifully within the actions and grace of forgiveness. You must be willing to forgive anyone and everyone who has ever harmed you in your entire life, as far back as you can remember. I tell people to do the recapitulation where they write out, okay, Johnny Smith hit me when I was 5, and I hit him back, and I forgive him. And I forgive myself for hitting him back, too. You always have to remember to forgive yourself. It's not just a one-way street. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And you forgive your parents. You forgive perfect strangers. You forgive everyone in your life. And you do it continuously because one time does not typically do it. You need to do it over a period of time, continuously. So this is why they're in the safeties. And the same thing with gratitude. Show gratitude for even having a life on this planet, for your lungs working in connection with your heart, which pumps blood to every part of your body, to all the cellular communities that make up the body that you are, and their frequencies and their agreements, and the love that is what you are composed of. Love is the strongest thing.
Absolutely.
It's what holds our bodies together. So
absolutely. You're kicking yourself into high gear. You basically, a lot of the things that you're mentioning, putting yourself in the grateful, it's putting you, kind of preparing yourself for going that elevation level. Because
that's right. That's a refinement. These are all refinements.
And one of the things I really, we got to get into the meat of, because you are coming to Minneapolis and doing a seminar. What can people, again, I'm going to put out, you're going to be actually live here in Minneapolis September 17th and 18th doing a seminar at the Springbrook Nature Center in Fridley, Minnesota. It's 185th Avenue Northwest. And to find out more about that, you have a Twin Cities liaison, Eileen Laurel, and she can email her at eloro55@yahoo.com. You can also reach Eileen by phone at 239-246-5608. But what do you do at your workshop? What can people expect if they attend?
A lot of information. Bring a notepad. Bring something to record it on. Preferably a notepad, because as you write, so do you record with your brain. There is that activity that we've been trained here in the West since we were kids to write down something. You can remember it a lot better. And so I suggest people bring a pen and a notepad to really get this information down, because I go through all of the safeties. I answer any and all questions that are given to me regarding the Kundalini and the cares and concerns that people have about it, the skills, the graces that come with it. And I should say that there are definite powers that come with the Kundalini, but they are not to be sought. And I know that sounds like a real tease, and it isn't a tease, it's a test. You are tested. You are not given great power until you are able to prove yourself responsible to wield it. Okay? If you're going to get a great power such as what the Kundalini brings to a person, then you're going to have to prove yourself capable of being trustworthy and responsible in how you wield that power. The great sages will say, don't even go for it. Just go with surrendering completely to the Kundalini. And I echo that. Surrender completely to the Kundalini, and the gifts that come will be those gifts that you need to have.
And it's really interesting. Earlier in the program, I was actually thinking that the old the Spider-Man thing. With great power comes great responsibility. And I was like,
exactly.
You just said that in so many words just now. So,
it's very true, especially with Kundalini, because with Kundalini we're not dealing with a cartoon comic hero.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a real situation on a human being. Now I want to if I may, Duncan, I want to get into some of the more healing aspects. I know I drifted away from that a little bit.
Please.
When you have Kundalini awakened within you, your radiance alone can initiate healing on people. The Kundalini will call me off the freeway, and what I mean is it'll all of a sudden it'll wrap itself into my heart and just I know I have to go to the trauma center in my area. So I'll come off the freeway, and amazingly, parking will just open up for me, which is amazing in and of itself. I get out of the car, and I go straight into the chapel area or the meditation area. And there, I sit down, and I'm able to, the radiance just fills up the entire hospital. And sometimes I'm even able to see who it is I'm helping, because I typically don't even look. I want to give it to everyone, and for those that need it, they can have it, whether it be a doctor, or a nurse, or a janitor, or somebody just visiting. In this case, it was a gentleman whose wife and two kids were in a severe automobile accident, and he was praying to God for assistance. And that is who Kundalini is.
Getting in touch with the divine. Getting in touch, being part of it, being part of the divine. Or reminding yourself you are divine.
Right.
That's really
you are the
more
divine
accurate.
Flesh. You are the flesh made divine. Okay, but it doesn't turn you into a Jesus automatically. I mean, you have to go through, your testing. You have to go through your refinement. You have to prove yourself. You have to walk in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay? You have to be willing to help people whether they pay you for it or not. Okay? I mean, these are very, very important issues. And so with the Kundalini, your radiance pours levels of love and divine qualities onto a person that you don't even know, and you don't even need to know them. All you need to know, hang on, let me get a drink of water here.
Oh, sure. It's a long interview. A lot of information.
All you need to know is that energy wants to be given, and you know it. No uncertain terms. It comes out of you. So that's just one of the mechanisms of healing that comes through the Kundalini. Another mechanism is, for me at least, I can make I don't make it, but for me, the dermal levels of a person's body disappear in certain areas. So I can just look at a person, and all of a sudden the skin will just fade away, and I can see what process is working within them that needs to have some balance or harmony restored.
Have you ever had in one experience? I was just thinking of a very interesting question. We're talking about the power and responsibility. Has anyone ever approached you and said, "Help me activate my Kundalini," and you just looked them over and just shook your head and said, "You're not ready for it yet"?
Oh yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Because there's probably, I would say that you'd have some people say, they think it's like kind of what we're saying, like, oh, this is really cool, I want to check this out, and it's like kind of going at it for the wrong reasons.
First of all, most of those people won't be able to do the safeties. they won't be able to follow the protocols because they're in it for reasons that are not, as you say, appropriate to the process. So, you know, in most, if not all cases, I am able to be confident that is what is occurring. I don't need to worry too much about whether a person is appropriate for this or not, because the Kundalini will make that discernment.
Gotcha.
It will.
Okay.
You know, it will go into that person and go, oh, okay, I see. Tommy Johnson here, you know, he just wants to be Spider-Man. He doesn't really,
yeah.
you know, he's in it more for his ego self. And let's be very clear for the people listening, is your ego self is a very important self, and it's what's helped you to survive up to this point on this planet. With Kundalini, you have to change from an ego-responsive self to a divine-responsive self, and that means quieting the ego down. Now, the ancients would say, oh, annihilate the ego, kill the ego, and I just don't see it that way.
No, I don't
you need
see
to
that.
train. Yeah, you train the ego like you're training an 8-year-old kid. Say, look, Chrism kid here, you just have to, look, I'll give you, here's some crayons, go over there, draw a nice picture, let me look at it later on, and I'm going to do some work over here. Okay? So you just retrain the ego in a way that allows it to be part of the process and yet not the controller of the process. Your ego does not get to control the process.
Well, I've always had the firm belief that you use your ego. It serves you, but you shouldn't serve your ego.
Right. That's fine.
People always say, let's go become egoless.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
And I'm like, no. Egoless is being a doormat, and that's not quite what Spirit had in mind when you put you here.
Right. Right. No, so you know, from an egotistical standpoint, we do not go for self-aggrandizement, and I know not everyone knows what that word means, but you don't live your life through the conscious validation of your self-worth. You don't blow your own horn. You don't brag about yourself. You don't do these things with the Kundalini. Okay, these are parts of the process that are really crucial to a person understanding and having the Kunalini, that they don't go there. Now, in most cases, people will have to experience mistakes in order to learn. They can listen to Master Chrism until the cows come home, but until they make that mistake and feel the effect of that mistake, they won't truly know. They won't truly understand until they have the authentic experience. But it's, you know, you can hear it from me, and if you can have and hold that, then it may save you some pain. But if you can't, then the pain is always there, and pain is an excellent teacher.
We've got about 7 minutes. I want to get in one more question from the chat room.
Please.
Yeah, the question was, let's see, oops, I just put it back. Where did it go? Oh, there it goes. Is this safe for beginners in spiritual things? Someone that's kind of beginning their journey, but maybe they're in a right, well, it could be in the right place for it. I mean, is this safe for someone just starting out?
Follow the safety protocols, and you're willing to refine yourself. This is a great place to start. This is actually one of the best places you could ever start at. To refine yourself towards enlightenment is one of the most amazing experiences that a life can hold, and to start to work with the Kundalini right now, even though you may not have a lot of experience in metaphysics or anything of that nature, that doesn't matter. You don't need to have that. All you have to have really is an honest an honest, trusting, resourceful, integrity-based mindset. If you are a trustworthy person, then this is the path for you. If you are a loving person, then this is the path for you. If you are a person that is prone towards being afraid of everything, then this is not the path for you. If you are a person that gets angry and wants to just hurt people, and this is not the path for you. Okay, if you're a person that is sees the creative force of the divine in everything, if you are a person that holds all life and all creation and all races and all species and in high esteem, then this is the path for you. If you're a person that's all about money, then this is not the path for you, because money, even though in the West, we need the money, and I charge for
right.
For the seminars to cover the rentals and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But I don't charge for the information. They can go to my website and they can just have it for nothing.
Oh, yeah, and
just for the act of reading.
I want to get to your website out, and I don't believe I have, so I'm going to be real careful about this. It's www.KundaliniAwakeningSystems with the number 1.com.
Perfect.
So for people because we're getting a lot of people listening, and I know we're going to have a lot of people listening to the archives, and they're probably going to want to look this information up. Again, it's www.KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com. And again, I want to put out, for those of you who live in the Twin Cities or reasonably close driving distance, this Thursday at the Healing Loft, we are going to be showing the movie Kundalini, which Master Chrism is one of 5 people that are giving their viewpoints. You get to see a little bit with you in action, conducting a workshop, and that's at 7 o'clock, and that's here at the Healing Loft, which is at 2112 Broadway Street, Northeast. We're in Suite 230, 250 in Northeast Minneapolis. And if you're not able to make this Thursday, I also want to point out that they will be showing the movie again Saturday, July 16th at Magus Books, which is over by the University of Minnesota at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's at 1309 and a half Southeast 4th Street in Minneapolis. And again, you are going to be, actually you in the flesh are going to be here in the Twin Cities September 17th and 18th. Information on any of these things, you can work with your liaison, which is Eileen Laurel, and there she's at ELORO55 at yahoo.com, or she can be reached at 239-246-5608, because we want people to definitely get to this information. If they're interested in attending your seminar that you're doing here in the Twin Cities, we want them here. And
I'd like to say a little bit about how I come across to people. I come from a very clear Kundalini expression. I don't need to wear orange robes. I don't need to quote from a lineage. I don't need to be of a certain belief system, because I know Kundalini is the sum total of all belief systems. I don't force the Kundalini within me to restrain itself or to confine itself into one belief system. So it doesn't matter if a person is a Christian or a Buddhist or a Hindu or a shaman or any of the belief systems, Taoist, Confucianism, Zoroastrianism. Doesn't matter. What matters is their level of integrity and love of the divine within themselves as it expresses through themselves. Kundalini could care less what color of a robe that you wear. If she had her way, and this is the feminine aspect of the Kundalini, the Shakti, if she had her way, you wouldn't wear any clothes. But
Absolutely.
We do wear clothes at the seminar.
Well, we are down to about a minute and a half here. Master Chrism, thank you so much for being on this evening. Really appreciate this. For those, again, we gave the information out. If people want to find more about Kundalini, this is live at the Healing Loft, and we're out of the Healing Loft here in Northeast Minneapolis. We are on at 7 o'clock Central every Monday night. To find out more what's going on at the Healing Loft, our website again is www.thehealingloftmpls.com, or you can reach us here by phone at 612-208-1408. And we're looking forward to seeing you September coming out to the Midwest.
Thank you, Duncan Metzger, and everyone associated with the Healing Loft. Thank you, Eileen Lauro, for making these arrangements.
Wonderful.
Duncan, you're a great interviewer, and I've really enjoyed the time I've spent with you. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on. So I want to also thank our listeners who joined us today, and I want to thank some of the people in the chat room for posting some great questions tonight. So I wish everyone well, and I hope everyone has a great evening. Good night, everyone.
Join us again next time for Live at the Loft. And to find out more about your hosts, check out their website at www.thehealingloftmpls.com.